Hello and welcome to the West Yorkshire Football Show. It's another episode of Leeds United Latest here with myself, Stephen Brown, and as ever, Jason Booker. Welcome along, everyone. A nice chilled Sunday afternoon. I hope you're all having. Smash a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, and get your comments in as always. We're just catching up, really. Lot to talk about in the Leeds United sphere, as there always is. A lot of excitement as well happening at the moment. We're hoping it'd be lovely to get some breaking news whilst we're on live about a certain Mr. Paixao, but we will wait and see. Jason, I mean, it's funny actually because we probably did a show maybe 3 weeks ago, and I think at that point, probably ourselves, the Leeds United fan base, we were all kind of, I don't know. I described it as having kind of one eyebrow raised about the situation, the whole kind of transfer situation. I think we brought a couple of centre backs in, and we'd not kind of done much else at that point. And I think there were a few murmurings of discontent. Fast forward 2-3 weeks, and it looks a very different picture. And it's just really exciting at the moment. And we're going to kind of put it out there as well. I mean, if the Paixao deal gets done, if they can bring in a Muniz as well. I mean, is this the best ever Leeds United transfer window? This is kind of what I've been thinking about for the last few days, because I'd be struggling to remember a better, more exciting window. I mean, first of all, Jason, I mean, what a week again. Obviously, we saw Longstaff completed last week. The goalkeeper, Lucas Perry, I mean, that literally just kind of came out of nowhere. Obviously, we were linked with him heavily, but then all of a sudden it was like deal done. And obviously that was kind of officially announced yesterday, I think, or the day before. I mean, things haven't just hotted up. It's scorching hot at the moment, isn't it? I mean, it's, how excited are you about what's happening at the moment with this Leeds United transfer window?
Yeah, it's funny how time can change in football, isn't it? I mean, 2 weeks ago, I remember us having the stream. I think it was the day before Longstaff got really ramped up.
Yeah.
And then the day after, Anton Stack basically kind of was not confirmed, but confirmed the here we go was dropped. And things changed like 2 days after that stream. But at that point, we were like, we're getting left behind. Sunderland are doing all these businesses, all this business. Burnley had just signed Kyle Walker. And we're looking at what we're going on and we're thinking this squad is miles away. Fast forward 2 weeks and all of a sudden the squad looks very, very different. I also think that the start of preseason and the games that we've seen have kind of alleviated some of our fears. We've seen Jayden Bogle step up. I know that the opposition is what it is, but we've seen him carry on the form. We've seen Tanaka look good. We've seen Ampadu back in midfield. We've seen Biol and Rodon together at the back, and we've had his worries kind of alleviated there. We've seen Pirro start preseason in really good fashion. We've seen Mecha come in and be probably more than we expected him to be. I think we all expected him to be a bit of a bit part off the bench, lump up front that we can, smash the ball into. And he's actually quite a tidy little player. So these things alongside, we've seen the form of Willie Gnonto in pre-season as well, kind of think, oh, all right, yeah, we're going to be okay. So I think all of that put together with the moves that we've made so far and then the increase, the ramp up in these targets. And, we were quick to kind of say as a fan base, the 49ers were getting a little bit left behind. But as they've proven in all of the windows so far, they strike at the right time. The value, I did a video on the channel last week. At the time it was 6 for 60 million. It's now 7 for 75. The value that we've got for the money that we've spent is insane. It's incredible because we've recruited real quality as well at prime age, 26, 27-year-old. Whereas Sunderland have spent nearly double us, but it's all unproven. It's all unproven. Burnley, the money that they've spent has all been on players that they recruited for the Championship. We've recruited players for the Premier League. So I'm really, really happy with the window. And I think a window that finishes with Paixao and let's just say Muniz as an example now, I'd be delighted, mate. I'd be absolutely delighted with maybe 1 or 2 going out the other way. We couldn't grumble at all, and we've given ourselves a real fighting chance of staying up. We've got the quality that we need to be competitive to finish 12th to 16th. Whereas, you look at the recruitment that Ipswich especially put in 12 months ago, it was recruitment to give them another shot at getting promoted. There's a big difference. So, yeah, I'm delighted, mate. Delighted.
Yeah. Absolutely. Skip straight off the bat here. Not to get too ahead of ourselves, but do we think Paixao has the potential to be better for us than Rafinha? And there's actually whispers that Rafinha's having words in players' ears about recommending them join Leeds United. It's agent Rafinha. I mean, the man is just an absolute legend. Only played for us for 2 years, but I just think what a phenomenal player, what a phenomenal guy. In terms of Paixao, the potential to be better for us than Rafa. Well, the interesting thing is, obviously, we only got to see Rafinha for 2 years, and he kind of went that way, and we went this way. And it would have been very interesting if we'd have grown as a club, if he would have actually stayed put. And that's the hope with someone like Paixao, Jace. Like, if we get him in, and he, does unbelievably well in the Premier League, but so do Leeds United, and we're actually showing that ambition, and we're getting maybe, looking at Europe in a couple of years or whatever. The hope is you get a great player, but he stays because you can match him. That's what we were never in a position to do with Rafinha.
Well, the noise with Rafinha was that was what was on the table. The new contract talk started just before the nosedive happened, and the rumours were is that he was happy to stay if the progression was continuing. The problem is it didn't show. If we'd have shown in the January with Bielsa that would have been prepared to throw some more money at it and recruit, but the fact is, Rads couldn't do it. He didn't have the facilities. He didn't have the capacity. He just didn't. I think comparing this window or saying this window is potentially our best ever, we'll only know once games start happening, or maybe even we can't say until the end of the season. But what I will say is it's very comparable with the first season back in the Premier League. You look at Diego Llorente. You look at Robin Koch, German international potential. You look at Rafinha. We signed Rafinha in that window. You look at Rodrigo. That first window wasn't bad. Like, it needed more, but it wasn't bad. And you then compare some of the players that we've signed so far with the likes of, Biol, bit of potential. Then you throw in the likes of Longstaff, Metcher, some of these other players as well. It's not that too dissimilar, and it's exactly the kind of recruitment that we need to make sure that we're competitive and we can stay up. We have to stay up this season. This season is absolutely pivotal, because then further potential, further growth can happen in season 2, and we can recruit players that are then fully behind the project, and we can push on. That's what we didn't do last time. Backing up the first season with Firpo and Dan James was never going to be good enough, because we could all see that the likes of Ayling, Cooper, and a couple of others, Bamford, even Calvin, and some of the, Click, they needed improving on, whereas we kind of we fell on sentiment, didn't we? Yeah. And we kind of whipped him again. So, I think the comparison between Rafinha and Paixao is probably a little bit too soon. You're talking about Rafinha as being, for me, he should have won the Ballon d'Or. He should have been voted as the best player in the world. To kind of put Paixao on that pedestal before we've seen him in the actual top flight, because the Eredivisie is a little bit different, is probably a stretch. But I think his potential is very, very high, and I'm very excited to watch him should he come through the doors. He's very, very good.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's interesting to make that comparison. And I was thinking about this morning. I was trying to kind of step back into that time we went up last time, and trying to figure out how excited was I at the time by the moves Leeds United made, because we only made 4 signings, don't forget, when we went up, which, the ones that you've mentioned, and we didn't know much about Rafinha. I remember being excited about Rodrigo, because obviously it was a big fee. Robin Koch sounded very promising as well. Llorente, a bit of an unknown, had a kind of semi-good reputation at Sociedad. But I think my excitement for this window has kind of superseded that now with everything we've done. And kind of the first one I want to talk about is the goalkeeper position, Lucas Perry. I mean, Jason, when I saw the fee for this, I was kind of gobsmacked. I was like, that can't be right. That should start with a 2 at least. I thought this was going to be in the 20 kind of million range, 25 million, maybe even pushing more than that. I mean, this is a top keeper. You look at the stats and everything. He's just absolutely phenomenal. And you just think, how on earth have we got this deal done? Goalkeeper was obviously a huge, huge issue for us this season. We said it on multiple streams. okay, it's great having all these other links and everything, but what is happening in the goalkeeper position? And it was actually one of the quietest kind of positions.
Yeah.
It would kind of, not that it had kind of been out of focus, but there just wasn't that much happening. And then all of a sudden, Lucas Perry is in the building. I mean, just how relieved are you that we finally got that goalkeeper position sorted, but how excited with the caliber of the player we brought in?
I mean, I think it's the most pivotal signing we've made, if I'm honest. I think it was the absolute number one for the number one position. We had to sign a goalkeeper. We know what we've gone through with Melier for the last 3 years. We know the limitations of Darlow, although I do think Darlow's come in and done really, really well. I think, we saw a bit out of him in pre-season already as well, and that I really like. And I think he's a great understudy, good age for a backup keeper. And I think he'll be happy sitting on the bench in the Premier League as opposed to sitting on the bench in the Championship. So I think it just alleviates a lot of my fears. I really worried for a part of pre-season that we were going to go into the season with Darlow as the number one. Yeah. And I almost started kind of selling the idea to myself that we'd be better spending on other positions. But I'm relieved, but really, really happy, mate. And the fee is an interesting one. Leon are obviously in a lot of financial issues. Great work by the club to, unfortunately, I know it sounds callous, but take advantage of that. That's the way that the world works. And to sell Lucas Perry the project that we were the club of choice for him is no mean feat. He will have had suitors, Brazilian third choice goalkeeper behind Alisson and Ederson. That's no shirk on him, but he did get a call up at the back end of last season, so he's made the squad. He's yet to make an appearance for Brazil, but he's of that pedigree. He's played in the Champions League. He's again at a great age. It's not coincidence that we keep signing players at 26 or 27. And we're definitely aiming for that ready-made, kind of age range, which I'm delighted with. I think he'll have confidence. He's got experience, played obviously in South America, played in France, even had a weird loan at Crystal Palace, which I didn't know about until I did some research on him. But really interesting move. Never played under Roy Hodgson, but did make the bench already in the Premier League. So maybe he knows a bit of the English culture. He speaks good English. So I just think we can be delighted. And he's got a massive punch. Like, what is that punch all about? When that video clip where he just throws it up and just punches it about 90 yards, it's so weird.
He can do that further than I could kick.
It's bizarre, isn't it? But he's got a presence about him as well. He's 6'5", he's broad, he looks intimidating, he's athletic. I'm really, really happy with it. And I think, like I say, it's the number one signing. It gives the reassurance to the rest of the team that we've got a man that can deal with it behind them. And that spine of the team now, big difference in what we did between season 1 Premier League when we came back the first time under Bielsa and now is that we've fully recruited all the way through the spine of the team. And it just looks different. And the players that are now, have come up with us that are going to stick around, have got real competition for places, all of them. Joe Rodon, Ethan Ampadu, obviously Pascal's number 4 now, but, Gruev, Tanaka, they can't switch off. Longstaff and Anton Stack, as an example, they're going to be both expecting to start week in, week out. So somebody's going to drop out. Yeah. So, super interesting, mate. I'm delighted.
Yeah, indeed. And it does probably spell the end for Elan Melier as well. And, rumours circulating that something is close to happening there. And, we've touched on Melier. It feels like that's going to be that kind of chapter of Leeds United's history closed, and look, it's tough on a personal level. I sympathise with the guy, how young he was thrust into the limelight, and the pressure and the environment that was around him certainly wasn't conducive, I don't think, to a goalkeeper in his early 20s progressing. He's made a lot of appearances for his age. And look, if he gets a move, I wish him all the best. I hope he does re-establish himself and move forward with it.
Just to say on that, like a couple of friends in another WhatsApp group that I'm in were like, "Oh, thanks for nothing, Ilan," and like, "See you later." And I was like, "That's really harsh." We have to remember that this were a keeper that came in at 19, 20-year-old and basically helped take us up. He was fantastic in the Championship the first time. Came in when Kiko did what he did, and we ended up with no goalkeeper. He then in the Premier League was absolutely fantastic. That first season behind closed doors, he was sensational. And Illan Meslier has been massively let down by the football club as well. It's not just all one way. That first season where it started to go wrong, he was bombarded and he did keep us in games. You know, we stayed up that season and Meslier was a big part of that. It wasn't his fault that we were conceding the goals that we wanted with the defences. And then the season after, we didn't improve it. We just left it exactly the same and made it worse with the likes of Rasmus Christensen. So while I agree that this needed to happen, I think it's the right thing for him and the right thing for the club. We can't be too disparaging about Illan Meslier. I will always remember him quite fondly for Championship Season 2 and Premier League Season 1. That you know, we had a serious keeper on our hands, and if anything, we've actually let him down as much as he's let us down. So yeah, quite a sad ending really to Mellier's time at Leeds. And you're right, he's a mad amount of experience, and I hope he goes somewhere abroad and pulls it round. I really do. Yeah.
Same. Gav here, Illan needs a break from Leeds and also his own career. Michael Browney, the reason why Leeds got Perry for that figure is because Leeds are in big financial trouble. They have to sell players at lower prices in need of cash. I just wonder where the other bidders were. I mean, Christ, that must have alerted every recruitment team, you know, in a top league going. I'm just, full
I do think a big thing with this is that PSR is one thing, but being cash rich is another. And the 49ers have the money to go. So I wouldn't be surprised if Perry's cost 16 million quid, but up front, and nobody else was maybe prepared to pay it all in one go, and we were, because that doesn't change what happens to PSR. Paying it up front or over a period of time, because it gets broken down over the contract because of the amortization situation. So if the 49ers like, yeah, fine, we've got the cash here, 16 million quid, that'll probably make a massive difference to Leon. If you remember back when we sold Alan Smith to them, the same situation happened. Manchester United paid all of the money up front, and Everton actually offered more, but wanted to pay it over installments, and we took the lesser amount because it was all up front because we needed to pay the creditors. So it's not actually that difficult to kind of understand, really. And I think, you know, that sells Adam Underwood short on the job that the club are doing as well. If we get the Paixao deal over the line, that will have been a selling job. There'll be a big selling job going on there for the project.
Yeah, absolutely. Guys, if you're watching along live, if you could just smash us a like on the video, really helps us out. Really appreciate it. Thanks for your comments so far. And if you could subscribe to the channel as well. Apparently, rumours that we've got 150 million to spend. You know, we mentioned last week how this kind of budget has kind of been all over the place. Have we got a tight budget because of PSR, but actually have we got a bit to spend? It seems to be there's a kind of article floating about 150 million in total can be spent. We've spent 75 million. It looks as if there's room to go. We know obviously the Paixao deal potentially a big chunk of change, but also, you know, it looks as if they will go big again for a striker, and then possibly maybe some fullback cover, some other areas. You know, Farke's hinted that he still wants the squad fleshing out. So, you know, plenty more deals to be done, Jess.
Yeah, I think Paixao and Muniz together will probably cost the best part of 70 million. I think that you're going to be talking about figures around 35 million each, which is a lot of money. But that is what you pay for attackers. You know, that is the area of the pitch in which you spend it. And because they've recruited so efficiently down the other positions, they can afford to do it. Yeah. And I do think we'll see outgoings. I expect Mateo Joseph to be gone pretty soon. I think that'll get announced fairly soon. And I do have a real feeling that Paixao might end up going, because I can't see where else we would sell from. Obviously Meslier as well, but Meslier, you know, it's going to be loose change really, I think, in comparison. So yeah, I don't see Paixao being happy with being even third choice. I don't really see him being happy with that, but could be wrong. We'll see. The fullback cover, I would really like to see us sign somebody that can play either side. I know he's been mentioned before, and I think he's been snapped up now, but Kyle Walker-Peters, you know, that kind of...
West Ham have got him, haven't they? West Ham
they can be kind of captured for either side. Tariq Lamptey, I don't know if he's signed back on with Brighton yet, but, you know, that kind of profile that's going to be happy to come in and be second choice and fight for his place. Because you're going to struggle to recruit somebody better than Gudmundsson or Bogle right now that's going to be prepared to really fight for the place, and you're not going to get it for the money that you're going to want to spend. So, but yeah, I do agree. I've seen a couple of comments that we could do with somebody in that spot just to give Byram a little bit more coverage. I do think it's funny that we signed Johnny Howson though. I think that's really. I mean, I know he's signed as a player coach. I know he won't play, but I would imagine that he will probably make a bench in the cup and he'll be homegrown. And seeing him in that yellow lead shirt at Hartlepool yesterday, it just made me smile. It made me smile because I was 16 when Johnny Howson made his debut. I remember him coming like onto the scene. I remember I was in the Carlisle end away at Brunton Park when we beat them in the last second of the semi-final of the playoffs in League One, and it just feels like we're a kid again watching him, you know, like seeing him in that shirt. So yeah, made me smile.
Wow, left a kid and has come back a man, hasn't he? It's absolutely bonkers. Yeah, Johnny Howson back at the club, great to see, and yeah, clever move, actually, smart move, and you never know what future he could have at Ellen Road, you know, coaching wise or whatnot. Yeah, it's an exciting move. Just to kind of finish up on transfers stuff, Adam Underwood, obviously, I mean, Christ, I mentioned, I think I was in one of Joe's video and I typed a comment about if this recruitment sees us stay up. If I were the 49ers, I'd just be handing this guy a blank check and saying, right, what do you want your salary to be? Put as many zeros on it as you want. Because if he delivers us what we think is looking like an absolutely amazing window, if it keeps us in the league, I mean, you can get it so wrong from that position, can't you? Know, I think of like the Everton director of football, and there's the Leicester one. They've been in the job years and they've pretty much been terrible. Like, they've got really poor track records, and obviously we saw with Victor Orta, you know, the downsides of you know, not everything he did was terrible, but you know, there was a lot of missteps. So if you know, Adam Underwood proves himself over this course of this window, I mean, you know, his profile's going to be in the spotlight, isn't it? And I think he's already turned down moves to leave Leeds. And, you know, with him kind of rising through the ranks, it'd be fantastic to think that he could be here, you know, for a number of years.
Yeah, well, he's been with Leeds United a long time. And, you know, he's obviously earned this position. He's earned the right to kind of take the role on in a massive transitional period for Leeds United. Like, you know, the way that we changed and the way that the recruitment's changed over the last 2 or 3 years has been nothing short of massive, really, when you consider what the system was under Radrizzani and Orta, to then the initial guys under the 49ers, to then a completely new version now under Adam Underwood. So yeah, and he's coming at arguably the most pressurized time that somebody could come in to the job in the recruitment of Leeds United. You know, recruitment, I said it time and time again, will be the be all and end all of why we stay up or go down this season. Farke's a massive reason, the players are a massive reason as well, but above all of that is signing the right players to give us the opportunity to stay up. And so far, on the face of it, he's done an absolutely brilliant job. I love the way that the feel of the players, that it feels like it's with a plan. It feels like it's with a structure. It feels like it's with reason, rather than, oh, Mark Rocker did all right at Bayern Munich, so did all right before Bayern Munich, so bring him in. You know, it didn't feel like there was a plan in that season. So yeah, I'm absolutely buzzing. I've just seen Gavin's comment there about Moyes said wanting 6 players. I think he actually quoted 7, and it just shows you how far behind they are in comparison to where we are. You know, so, and a couple of weeks ago we were flapping saying that we still had loads to do. They've not signed anyone, have they? I think they've signed Alcaraz as a permanent and a striker, and that's it, Barry. So yeah, I think Adam Underwood deserves so much credit, and the 49ers do as well. You know, we have to give it both ways, don't we?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've kind of mentioned it before, but I watched that. I've subscribed to That Toffee TV, which is like the big Everton fan channel. And it's just so interesting watching their reaction, because that's exactly what they're saying. They're over in America. They got pumped by Bournemouth in a pre-season 3-0 yesterday. They've got no players. Moyes is coming out saying, you know, we couldn't even in friendlies, you can change the entire 11 if you want. And they couldn't even do that. And it's fascinating because there's little threads of narratives building up with teams where you think we've got an opportunity this season. We've got an opportunity this season to replace someone.
Brentford are in a right mess. They're in a right mess. I mean, they've obviously gone down this route after the manager leaving. It feels to me as if they didn't really have a plan.
Yeah.
They can't have had. I'm not being disrespectful or disparaging towards Keith Andrews, but he's not long out of terrible championship commentary. He's now been a set-piece coach for 2 years, and they've thrust him into the main job. I think it's a madness. It's an absolute... And I would be stunned if he sees game 15. I really would. Yeah. And then you throw into the equation the fact that they've put him in without any experience when they're going through this massive transitional change with the players. They've lost the captain in Norgard. They've lost arguably their best player in Mbeumo. Now Wissa is refusing to play, refusing to train, and he's going to be going out. This is all on the back of Ivan Toney going the season before.
Yeah.
And you could argue that they were massively punching above their weight anyway. I would argue that they've been quite fortunate that they haven't been sucked into relegation battles the last 3 years. I remember the season that we went down and I was looking at Brentford like, they keep losing, but we were just so terrible, the bottom three, that they kind of only had to finish on like 38 to stay up. So I think they're in a massive, massive issue. The owner wants to sell as well, apparently, which is going to then change how much impetus and how much attention he's putting on the business. So I can really, really see them struggling. I think Everton will still be there. I think West Ham will still be in and around it as well. I think Manchester United will still be in and around the bottom 7. I said it, and I'm going to maintain it. I just don't think they've improved enough.
Skip's going Forest in here. I mean, I know Morgan Gibbs-White seems to be staying now, doesn't he? He signed a new contract. A bizarre situation there. Who knows if they could potentially get sucked in. Just want to raise this one with you, Jason, as well. Simon, thanks for your comment, mate. He's mentioned Aronson could be seen as an asset to sell in order to purchase a higher quality number 10. Now, interesting one with Aronson. Obviously, we're talking about maybe it's going to be a midfield 3. That number 10 role might kind of disappear. Aronson is an interesting one, isn't it, Jason? Because we were always... I thought very fair and positive towards Aronson last season. I thought we gave him his dues for someone coming on the back of what, we all know would be terrible. I were there for the Valencia pre-season last year where he got booed coming on and, a lot of doubts. And look, the kid played, over 40 games last season. So, I think he got unfairly kind of criticised. Now, that being said, Premier League standard, do I feel I'm watching a Premier League standard player in that portion of the pitch? I think he has some very good qualities, very high qualities, work rate, that kind of thing. But I don't know. It's going to be an interesting one with Aronson because he came in for a big fee. So I don't know. If we can. I don't know how that works PSR wise. If it looks good if we sell him now, or I guess it depends on the fee.
The problem with Simon's point there is exactly that. So we signed him for 25 million and he's now 3 years into that. So that would work out 3 years into 5 years, which would work out at what? Us needing to sell him at 10 to 12 million just to break even. So while Simon puts there could be seen as an asset to sell, he's not, because I defended him. I like certain bits, as you said, but is he worth 15 to 20 million? No, he's not. So we can't make a profit on that deal. So then it makes sense to keep him because another year off the amortization makes him more profitable. And he's another squad player that can play a role in a number of positions. He can play centre midfield. He can play at the 10. He can play out wide. He played out wide the other day against Paderborn. So I think that'll end up being the role that Brendan will end up playing, is bits and bats here and there, filling in, maybe coming on when we need a bit more of an impetus, a bit more energy in and around that 10 position. I can see him playing a role, but I don't see him starting very many games. And we're not going to have too many players that are going to just be happy sitting on the bench week in, week out. I'm sure Brendan won't be either, but I think he'll understand his role within the system and within the side. So, just selling him doesn't make sense to me. Who's going to take him?
No, exactly. Quick take. Obviously, you've got a video up on the channel about your reaction to Matteo Joseph transfer request, and there's been various bits and pieces with that. Betis offering loans. It's like, no, Betis, just stump up the cash for God's sake. It kind of feels like he's going to just be forgotten about, really. There's just no kind of focus on it. I think when Nemecha coming in and Peru looking like absolute fire and potential for a new striker, I find myself kind of not asked, really. I've got to say, I'm just like, hopefully we get a decent fee for him, but I'm certainly not crying about, but his potential and all this kind of thing. I'm like, it is what it is. Like, he would be nowhere near starting for us. In the Premier League, if Matteo Joseph was anywhere near starting when the guy couldn't even do it in the Championship, and I'm not saying that's his final version of Matteo Joseph, I'm just saying he's not good enough or not in a position to be starting for us in the Premier League or coming off the bench even. So
he was miles off it, Browney. I mean, towards the back end of the season, Bamford was in front of him and a long way in front of him. He was actually contributing. There were a lot of things that I didn't like about Matteo last season. I think he obviously got the starting position. I was excited too when I saw him in pre-season. I openly tell you, I put a £10 bet on him being top goal scorer. He's got 2 goals last season. Like, I got it miles wrong. Now, what I saw in pre-season, I thought, he's ready. He started the season, his lack of composure really bothered me. He showed a distinct lack of composure several times. It started from, I think it was game week 4 when he missed that chance against Burnley. And we saw that throughout the season. I didn't like his attitude. I thought his attitude started to seriously depreciate and reduce over the season. You saw his lack of effort when he was coming off the bench. He was barely even running around. And that's a bare minimum that you expect is to press. And he didn't do that. He lost his position fair and square to Joel Perrault, then to Patrick Bamford. And for me, I'm kind of done with him, if I'm honest. To now refuse to train or refuse to go and all the rest of it, it just stinks. And I'm really, really kind of impartial about it. I think it's right for him. It's right for us. It goes back to Spain. I seen Gav's comment there about 10 million. I think we'll be lucky to even get 10 million. I know that there's huge potential there for a 21-year-old striker, but I just don't think he's shown enough to say that he's worth that yet. The difficulty that some fans have dealing with this is that he'll come back in a few years' time and be worth 30, 40 million quid. That happens in football every single season, at every single club. We've had players come and go before that it's happened to. We've had players that have come into us, which we've then sold on for multi-million pounds because they've turned their career around at Leeds United. It is the way that it is. That's football. So I'm not getting too hung up on it. Same as I didn't get too hung up on Charlie Cresswell when Charlie Cresswell went. Charlie Cresswell's now made another move. We got a little bit of a kickback from that. It worth for much more than what we originally sold him for. But it happens. It happens.
We're going to get good deals, Archie Gray. We're going to get good deals. We're going to get deals where, it would have been nice to get a little bit more. But sometimes the player might develop. Joseph might develop into a top player. And you know what? I hope he does. I have no grudges to bear or anything. I hope the lad does well. But I'm not asked. I'm over it already. I'm over the Matteo Joseph thing. I don't know why people are crowing on about Matteo Joseph. The guy barely played or contributed in the Championship. We're about to maybe sign Muniz. I could care less.
I agree. Look at some of the players that we've had come through our doors over the years, and if we're talking strikers, look at Ross McCormack as an example. We signed him for £250,000. We sold him a few years later for 11 million quid.
Yeah.
You didn't have Cardiff crying over the fact that they might have done, but you know what I mean? Chris Wood, we signed him for next to nothing, ended up going to the Premier League, having several good years at Burnley, then went on to Newcastle, now done what he's done at Forest. That's just the way that football works,
Well, don't you think as well, Jason? Now it's so high level, especially even the Championship, but especially going to the Premier League, you can't have any passengers. Unfortunately, it's not. You can't have an 18-year-old in your team or 19-year-old who you're going to let develop over 3-4 seasons to maybe develop into a Premier League player. It's like, this is why we're signing the age that we are, because we need players ready now to go, and the thing is, we've got homegrown responsibilities. We know that, and that's why you'll probably see Harry Gray on the periphery. We'll probably keep him involved because obviously we have got to still produce players who can be part of the squad or maybe even start for us. So yes, there's a burden. We've still got to do that. It can't just be always signing players all the time. But, they've got to be good enough. Players have got to be good enough, and that's just, and if you've had opportunities, you've not done it. Matteo Joseph got the shirt, started, and it didn't happen.
For every, player that we let go that then ends up coming back to be worth 40 million quid 4 or 5 years later, there's 10 that fans have screamed for that then get released, that then go and play League Two or non-league football.
Yeah.
Look at Ryan Edmondson. He's playing in Australia now, and people were banging on for him to replace Bamford a few years ago. I remember before that, Tom Elliott was exactly the same. Came on at 16 against Norwich, whoever Mama were there that day. He ended up going to playing for Salford, and he ended up climbing back to the Championship, play for Millwall. It happens time and time again. Lewis Bate got basic, and I really liked Lewis Bate. I thought he had huge potential. Started the game against Chelsea at Ellen Road the season that we stayed up, was awful, was getting absolutely pinged all over the place. And that happened because of I'm sure it happened because of fan demand. And Jesse Marsh just went, yeah, right, okay, throw him in. He ended up then going into League Two the season after. Now he's playing in League One. For everyone that does come back to haunt you, there's, I would say, knowing football the way that I do, 30 or 40 that have got lost in the system before it.
Well, we've only ever had one generation, if you're talking about the modern kind of times, where we had the crazy group of Kewell, Smith, Woodgate, Hart coming through at the same time. And that was like the dream. That happens. I mean, God, that's like once a blue moon. I mean, that was just a very special crop of players. And if you get one through every couple of years, it's a miracle. Do you know what I mean? It's so tough and demanding. So yeah, it is what it is. There's going to be some you lose out on, and it's fine. It's absolutely fine.
People were calling for James DeBio to be starting at certain times last season. He's just been released. And he'll pop up in League Two. Probably.
It's the myth of kind of the young wonder kid, isn't it? It's the wonder kid hope, isn't it? You think, oh, you've got the next special talent on your hand that's going to like rip it up. But the truth is, it's a lot trickier than that. It really is. Moving on then to kind of pre-season results. Obviously, you mentioned it before, Paderborn, we won 3-2. Another beautiful strike from Peru in that. Farke's son playing in that as well, which is...
Did you really? I didn't even hear that.
Daniel Farke's 18-year-old son was playing, so pretty special moment for father and son there. But a nice little tuning. Got to see Anton Stack laid on a nice little assist as well. Like I say, Peru looking sharp. What did you kind of make of it all? Obviously, I don't know if could you watch the full game? I know I couldn't do it live, obviously, but I've only seen the highlights. And, Peru is probably the standout kind of man at the moment, isn't he, in terms of how sharp he's looking?
I've only watched the highlights, and I've only watched them twice. So I may forget some of the details specifically. There were a couple of bits I liked, a couple of bits I didn't like. I think the flow of the football and some of the passing and movement that we've started the preseason off with has looked really, really nice. Tanaka and Bogle really on it together. Piro's strike was just class, just quality. Like, wouldn't have mattered what league in the world, what competition in the world, that move and finish specifically would have gone in against any keeper. Because that's the kind of finisher that he is. This is why I've got confidence that Pirot can do the job in the Premier League, because I said it before, the sticks don't change. The goal is exactly where it is. It doesn't change whoever you're playing against. You just get less chances. He only needed one. And, I would say through his time at Leeds, he's probably been a little bit profligate. He's probably been a little bit wasteful at times. So there's another level to come from Pirot. Really, really happy with him. Anton Stack was good to see. We saw Jack Harrison again, which I still find really, really weird. I think he's going to be in and around it, mate. I really do. I think
how miserable he looked, by the way, on the team photo against Manchester United. And I don't think I don't know. I've never thought he enjoyed it much at Leeds, even from the first time round.
I think it's just him, that. I think it's just his personality. There were a couple of moments for Biol that were a little bit iffy. There were a couple of moments for Mr. Pascal, which is just standard. The more and more I watch other centre-backs in this team, the more and more I realised I was right all along. I actually just think he looks worse and worse and worse. I think he looks great as a persona of a centre back, but the actual attributes that come with him are all really, really average. I think his distribution is so poor. You know, whenever you look at statistic pages on Pascal Striker, and this is something that people fire back at me all the time, oh, his stats are always really good. But the ones that matter aren't. You know, the passes that matter don't get there. And I've said this before as well, people just ignore it. A pass being received doesn't always mean that it's a good one if it puts the player that's receiving the ball under pressure. And that's what happens with him time and time and time again. His decision making, his concentration is just poor. He will be fourth choice. I'm absolutely certain of it. He'll be fourth choice this season. He definitely won't be starting games. So yeah, that was a slight disappointment, but I thought Gudmundsson was good down the left from what I saw. I think having somebody really naturally flary in front of him is going to be fun. If Paixao comes in, really, really fun.
Yeah.
Mecha, again, solid. Really, really. He's good. He's a very, very good player.
Tell he's got it, and he has got it. Yeah.
He's a player. I think what's probably stopped him demanding a transfer fee this summer has been his injuries, which I think is why we've probably not brought him in as the first choice striker. You know, the likelihood is that we will be signing someone else in that position. So, and they'll be taking the number 9 shirt from Mr. Bamford, who did the right thing and went and played up at Hartlepool against Simon Grayson's Hartlepool yesterday. Yeah. So
lost 3-0, didn't they? I think.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, it was a very, very young side with Sam Greenwood and a couple of others in there. So.
Yeah, it's fascinating to see what happens there. It's obviously back at Ellen Road next week for the first kind of home fixture. It's getting close now, Jason. We're getting there. We're going to be in August very shortly, and then it's a couple of weeks to the Everton game. Sean Longstaff, I saw he did an interview in The Athletic as well, and he was talking about how it feels at Leeds, similar to when Newcastle got taken over. Which sounds incredibly promising, because if we can do anything near what Newcastle have done, winning a trophy and getting into Europe, then we're on the right track. And I think that's what it all smacks of, doesn't it? Just the ambition is just something I don't think we're quite used to it as Leeds fans, really, because we've had so many poor owners over the years that it's nice to now be in a position where there appears to be that ambition to kind of get to the top.
There's some almost like a fear of success attached to it, isn't there? It feels a bit unnerving. Like, it can't be nice. We can't have nice things. You know, Newcastle are a great example of showing what a bit of momentum and optimism and enthusiasm can do. Obviously with a boatload of money as well. But ultimately, you know, Newcastle are kind of pinned by the rules and regulations like we are, and they've found it difficult, and they've had to operate and move in a certain way. And the management, you know, Eddie Howe and the way that he's kind of structured that team, because it wasn't just a case of going out and buying 10 Isaacs, were it? They've built it through the likes of Sean Longstaff and some of the others that were there before he even took over. They've built on top of that with some real quality in places. You can then make that transition, especially if you're a big side. You know, Brentford, as an example, will always have a ceiling because of the amount of competition that they've got around them geographically, and, you know, the lure of the Premier League, sure, but Brentford, or, you know, when you're comparing them to even a Fulham or an Everton, or, you know, some of these other teams, they can't compete really in terms of a bit of an attraction. Leeds and Newcastle are separate from that because we are a one club city, and we're a big club. You know, we've got 50,000 stadium coming and the rest of it, and the money's there. So if you can harness it all in the right way and have a passion and enthusiasm and kind of carry that all the way through the club, it's infectious and it carries on, and people really buy into the program, into the plan. So yeah, it's exciting, and Longstaff, I think, is such a smart signing. Smart signing.
Yeah, agree 100%. Little off topic. What do you make of what's happening with Newcastle this transfer window? I mean, it's they've gone through a couple of directors of football recently. They don't seem to be able to sign top targets. I kind of, you know, I wonder if they kind of need to kind of go down a notch in their recruitment and kind of look at maybe developing talents rather than the finished articles, because at the moment they seem to be really struggling. I know after that Amanda Staveley kind of left, the direction of the club's kind of wondering a bit, and it's almost like kind of a warning from the future in the way that if you lose that focus, if you lose that like laser tight focus on the goal and what you're doing in terms of recruitment, it can become a real battle because they seem to be just now they're going for Sesko. It's like, right, we can't get it. You know, it's an interesting one, isn't it?
They've apparently got a policy where it's just one at a time, which just seems mental. Especially when they've got a bit of work to do. I mean, they have signed Alanga, and I think Anthony Alanga's at a real stage in his career where I actually think it's a really, really good signing. And I know 55 million quid sounds like a lot of money. Nowadays, it's pretty run of the mill for a pretty good player. I actually think it's a top signing. I really, really like him. And I think he suits what Newcastle are about. He suits the style and the system. Obviously, if they lose Isaac, then making a replacement for him is going to be huge. It's a tricky one for Newcastle because I think they're in this kind of middle ground where anything less than a certain level of transfer, they might as well stick with what they've got. But then sticking with what they've got ends up eventually is going to become a little bit rusty and a little bit stagnant. So then you have to replace what you've got with the same level, but that's not going to then move them on. And ultimately, Newcastle want to challenge for the Premier League. Yeah. They will want to win the Premier League under this ownership. So it's a real difficult one for them because they have to take some gambles and also try and stand on with the signings that they believe are going to make them better. So, Šeško would be a hell of a signing. I think Gyökeres would have been a cracking signing for them. If they'd have realised this was going to happen with Isaac beforehand, they might have gone all in on Gyökeres because I don't think Arsenal wanted Gyökeres as first choice. I think they wanted Isaac. So it's a funny one, really, how it's kind of all unfolding. And if Liverpool end up signing both Ikitike and Isaac, that'd be so. They've just gone out to piss Newcastle off this window.
Yeah, it's mad, isn't it? Honestly, they've been playing chess and Newcastle been playing checkers, aren't they? Kevin, hi, Browney Jay said, hello, Kevin. Good to see you on a live there, definitely. It's funny, actually. And we were kind of having a bit of fun with our Huddersfield Town fan and friend in the WhatsApp group, Downsy as well. And you know what, Jess, I was thinking about this earlier. I was like, aren't you so glad to be away from that kind of, I'm not just saying Huddersfield Town, but just being in the kind of championship where, Hull and all these teams are just desperate to get at Leeds United and having digs on the social media and, they're giving it 110% against us. I'm just like relieved we're not in that sphere anymore, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't care less about Huddersfield. And I make this point abundantly clear all the time, but I did wake up and just choose a little bit of violence this morning and just started digging at Downsy for no reason whatsoever. It was all on me. It was nothing on Downsy this morning. It was all me. But I did find the idea that they will be all kind of like, oh, Leeds are signing Brazilian Lucas Perry, Brazilian Igor Paixao, and they're signing Marcus Harness on a free transfer from Ipswich or Derby or wherever. He ended up being contracted to last. They're scrapping around spending 250 grand in League One and we're spending 35 million on Igor Paixao and these other players. So yeah, I did have a bit of a wry smile because I know that it will sting, and it'll sting very, very much for them Huddersfield fans. And good, it should. They're back in their box, they're in their position, we're in our position. And yeah, they also go in hand with some of the other teams within the Championship as well. And yes, it's very, very nice, mate. I will not miss the Championship banter. I'll miss winning games every week, though. I will miss winning games every week. But yeah. Sheffield United, Sheffield Wednesday, all these other little tin pots that are just going to be scrapping it out themselves. Yeah, they can go and enjoy the Championship.
Interesting question here from Tom that I just wanted to pull in from earlier as well. Bit of a change, but what Premier League manager can you see getting sacked first in the season? Many managers are going to be under pressure. Now, I wonder if Scotty Parker ends up staying at Burnley and if they get off to a poor start, I wonder if he's going to blow his fuse again. Do you remember at Bournemouth where they got smashed 9 by Liverpool and then he kind of spoke out against the board and they ended up binning him off. So Scotty Parker potentially might be on there. Ruben Amorim, if Man United get off to a bad start, he's going to be bang under pressure. There's going to be quite a few interesting ones. Keith Andrews at Brentford. Who do you see kind of starting off on the back foot? Who would you be keeping an eye on for that?
I think with Burnley, it all depends on what their expectations are. If they've gone into it like maybe Ipswich did last season with the expectation that it's going to be difficult. As long as we're competitive, you're all right. Scott Parker might be okay with that. He's got a bit of a rebuilding job in his career to do as well, and this is part of it. So he might be all right. I think Graham Potter's under a lot of pressure. I think he's under a lot of pressure at West Ham because they weren't good last season. He did, I think, steady the ship, but they only kind of got away with it, and he only got away with it because of how bad the bottom three were again. I think he'd have been under a lot more pressure even for his period of time there if the bottom three had been, more competitive, which hopefully, going off the noises that we're making, Sunderland are making, we should all be a little bit more competitive. So I think Potter, I think Keith Andrews will be very lucky to see the season out. I think Amorim is a great shout for that question. He cannot have another season like he's just had. He can't. They were so bad. So bad. I mean, they were bad under Ten Hag. And they ended up becoming even worse. I mean, the points per game under Amorim, I think like 1.1, 1.2 points per game. It's madness. So, plus a couple of others. I think Wolves are going to be in a bit of trouble just because of, not from the manager perspective, but more from the players' perspective. They don't seem like they're going to have the quality. And then no doubt there'll be a couple of others as well. Will David Moyes be able to do it again without lack of resource? Will Silva at Fulham, Glasner at Palace, these clubs, but Bournemouth, and I really like
Areola.
I really like Areola, but how far, because they've lost some big players, they've lost 2 or 3 of their main core group that have made them so good. So there's going to be a few others as well, and then no doubt there'll be somebody from the top as well. I said in the group the other day that, about Arteta, with the dealings that they've made this summer, they have to go and win the Champions League or the Premier League. They have to go and win one of them this season because they've spent a lot of money again and they've recruited some real talent. So, another season of finishing 12 points behind Liverpool and getting crashed out of Champions League is not going to be good enough.
No. And what about our very own Mr. Farker, Jason? He's come out as well. He's praised the recruitment, saying they're following the plan step by step. The plan, is happening. There's not going to be the same kind of reasons and explanations as to what happened at Norwich. So, hopefully he can deliver because, it's amazing to watch with Farker, actually, how kind of written off he has been and how he doesn't get linked to other jobs. When he was back in the Championship, huge opportunity for him as well, isn't it, Jace?
100%. We've heard a couple of reports from players that his conversations made the difference of getting it over the line, which I think is really reassuring to his pull and attraction. I think tactically we have seen changes. I think people want to label stuff at him just because I like to label stuff at people. They put together what happened at Norwich with then what happened maybe season 1 with Leeds, forgetting all of the context of what he had to deal with at Norwich and then what he had to deal with Leeds in season 1. And this includes me and you as well. Me and you at the end of season 1, we've said it on here before, we were very open to the idea of getting rid of him at the end of season 1 and going with somebody different in season 2. And the guy achieved record points total for us. Record above record he achieved. Goals against, like everything, all metrics that you wanted to look at. Daniel Farker's Leeds United team in season 2 was the best. And not only did we end up going and winning the league with a record points total, we did it in a season where second place finished in a record points total as well. You know what I mean? So we had that ultimate competition, and he achieved all of that with arguably a team with less talent in the second season, less individual talent. The team together was I think better. I think we can all agree on that. But individual talent, we definitely lost some in Somerville and Rutter and Archie Gray. So I think he gets a hard yard. But this is his opportunity to prove me now right with what I'm saying, and prove. I'm not going to say the masses because I think it's probably split, but to prove them wrong. And I think he can. We've seen tactical changes over the 2 seasons. Yeah. We've seen a bit of a tactical shift in pre-season.
Yeah.
We've seen a tactical shift in the recruitment that we're making. The club believe in him. The club really believe in him because, they've gone out and got... that these are Daniel Farker signings. You can just see it in them. Yeah. They're not a club ethos signing. They're a Daniel Farker signing. So, I think he's going to do it, mate. I think he will be here at the end of the season, which is a bold claim to make against for any promoted side, innit? You know,
Absolutely.
would we be surprised if Labrie or Parker get sacked? Not at all. We wouldn't. So yeah, but I think he makes the end of the season. I think we finish comfortably top of the bottom half. 12, 13, 14, something like that.
Yeah, I think I'm starting to kind of my expectations, or what I think might happen is just these signings are just lifting it. And if Igor Paixao, it's not been completed or announced, unfortunately, whilst we were streaming, that would have been perfect. But hopefully, maybe you're watching this video a few hours later on Sunday and we've got the deal done. Fingers crossed. But yeah, I want to thank everybody who's chatted, commented. If you've not liked the video already, please do like the video and get subscribed to the channel as well. I think if we do get Paixao done, we're gonna have to jump on out with Jason and just celebrate wildly.
If it gets confirmed today, we'll do another 20 minutes.
Yes, 100%. We've got to do it. But yeah, thank you everybody who's been watching. I've been Stephen Brown. Joining me as ever has been Jason Booker. Jason, thank you, mate.
Thank you, mate.
And enjoy the rest of your Sunday. And hopefully Igor Paixao will get announced at some point. We will wait and see. But thank you for watching, and we'll be back again soon. Thank you. Bye-bye.